Hello, my fellow humans, and welcome back to Scatter Love Tarot with your girl coming at you with another pick a card reading. First of all, I would love to say thank you to those of you that continue to be a supportive part of this journey with me. I'm honored to be sharing this time and space with you, and if you happen to be new here, welcome. This is that reminder that we're all here sharing this human experience together, and that this is a safe space to show up as your highest, most aligned, loving, authentic selves. We do things completely differently here on this channel. So with that being said, if that messages do happen to resonate with you, it'd mean the world to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And if you're interested in supporting the channel further, you will find everything that you need in the description box below. Today I got a channeled message, and it's also been a while since I've done one of these, and I feel like these are really good to do here and there so that we make sure that we resonate as a reader with the viewer. But it was funny because it came through really loudly in my morning meditation. That's how would I describe you as a tarot reader, or let me describe you as a tarot reader. And I just felt like the perfect deck to do this today would be the Archetypal Astrology Oracle deck by Jonathan Waller. This is a very powerful deck. I use it for myself in my own reading, so we'll definitely see how that goes. Let's go ahead and hop to your prayer. And if you didn't catch my last pick a card reading that I had posted, I mentioned on there that I was traveling, which is why the videos had been scarce for a little while, but I am settled now, and we should be getting back to our regularly scheduled program. But it was a really difficult travel this time for me, even though it wasn't Mercury retrograde. It was just really difficult, but that's why I wasn't able to do any videos while I was on the road. But we are now here, and let's get into this prayer. My beloved source, this prayer is for any and all who come onto this video, whether it's for the entire time or for a moment's time. Sometimes we're not even sure of who we are ourselves. How do we traverse a world that's asking us to fit in, while Spirit is asking us to be authentic and to be unique, when we don't even know who we are at our core? So I ask that you help shed a light on that part of ourselves that maybe we locked away because we were ridiculed, or we were judged, or we were made fun of, or someone had said something about it and we decided it was easier to lock it away. We might have done that at a very young age. We might have done it because it was very traumatic for us, and it was just easier to conform. So I ask that you set forth a path that's brightly lit, that rebels against this societal construct of having to fit in, and allows us to embrace and embody our authentic, unique selves at this time. That we're not required to make the right decision. We're required to make decisions that feel good for us, and to trust our intuition at this time. I ask that you help us do that in a very strong, grounded way, and that you are forever leading us towards our path of highest unconditional love and alignment. As these words are spoken upon this tribe and onto this reading, so shall they be. Amen. Aho. Ase. Thank you, thank you, thank you, my beloved source. Thank you. All right, let me get this set up. Move this out of the way. All right, so let's get into our shuffle, and let's find out, source, what archetypal astrology card is going to help me describe my fellow humans. How would I describe my fellow humans as a reader? What astrology oracle card is going to help us better understand that? What archetype astrology oracle card is going to help me better describe my fellow humans? Thank you. What astrology archetype is going to help me better describe my fellow humans? All right. For pile number one, source, what archetype astrology oracle card will help me better describe pile number 1? Thank you. All right, for pile number 2 source, what archetypal astrology oracle card will help me better describe pile number 2? Pile number 2 source. Card will help me better describe pile number 2. Wow, thank you. All right. And for pile number 3 source, what archetypal astrology oracle card will help me better describe pile number 3? What card will help me better describe pile number 3 source? That one right there. Thank you. Okay. Interesting. Bottom of the deck, collective message. We have number 44 with Mars, Neptune. This is kind of a bit of clashing energy, isn't it? You have this very aggressive energy of Mars and this very action-oriented energy, and then you have the dreams and the illusions of Neptune. It's like, how can you dream in a way that will help you better take action towards your journey? And I feel like that's something that you might be struggling with at this time as a collective, is how do I really draw my desires into this physical reality? How do I become grounded in them? How do they become a foundation of what's next for me on the journey? And at the same time, feeling that pull and knowing that if I'm making strides or steps in this direction, that I'm doing the right thing for myself. But noticing that at times it does get very burdensome and lonesome and very, very overwhelming. There's a lot of karmic things that you're clearing out. There's a lot of fears that you're facing. There's also a lot to bringing in this abundance that you want. And sometimes the idea of that in itself can be so enormous, and the obstacles necessary to overcome can seem so many, that it's almost as if it would be easier for you to right now throw in the towel. But I feel like with this, almost this dynamic pull with the energy, that this is the time when it's necessary to keep making progress, no matter how little. Even if it's 5 minutes today, putting towards energy and effort towards what it is that you want to create, you're still making progress. Or you're not giving up. It's the ones that give up that never realize that. But I do feel like at this time as a collective, there's this struggle that you're experiencing right now. And the beauty of this reading is I didn't give source a specific, like, let me describe you, right now, yesterday, tomorrow, whatever. And so this is the energy that's coming in right now that source is saying this is something that collectively we're dealing with, is the fight between dreaming and taking action, or the fight between, do I throw the towel in on my dreams and just go back to what I know is comfortable, going back to what I know feels stable but is actually an illusion. So it's interesting that that's coming in. Let's see what this says from the book. I almost turned open to the page. It says, I felt as if there were invisible threads connecting us. I felt the invisible strands of her hair still winding around me, and thus as she disappeared completely beyond the sea, I still felt it. Felt the pain where my heart was bleeding because the threads could not be severed. Mars trine Neptune. When you know how to move like water, only then can you hold your fire. Wow, right? Those very opposing energies. Water and fire don't necessarily go together, right? Water puts out the fire, and also equally so, fire, if used correctly, can turn water into air. Here is where the principle of strength, dynamism, courage, and prowess meets that of the boundless spirituality and illusion. This is the float like a butterfly, sting like a bee principle, where the stillness of the infinite is infused with dynamic energy and stirred into action. Neptune can be a frustrating companion for Mars. Yeah, and that frustration was for sure coming through. The last thing most warriors want is a seat in the meditation hall. They want to take action. Yet, with some effort, this pair reveals a deep spiritual potential, a peaceful warrior energy, and the Taoist attitude of Wu Wei, or effortless action. Mars-Neptune infuses your impulses to assert yourself as an individual with a spiritual quality. Under their influence, it might become increasingly important to you that your inner strength and courage serve a higher purpose than a simple personal growth or achievement. It is perfectly natural to go through life viewing things from an egocentric perspective, seeing the world as a collection of instruments and opportunities for your own successes and benefit. Mars-Neptune, however, calls all of this into question and begins to pose different questions, helping you to realize that once your life is over, the mark that you leave behind will only truly be visible in the lives you have touched and the differences you've made to others, for better or worse. This pair helps you to smooth down some of the pricklier edges of your inner Mars. Most frustration is futile. Most stress is avoidable. Pain may be inevitable, but the suffering that comes from focusing all your mental energy upon pain is a choice. In almost every case, violence, physical or otherwise, makes things worse and not better, and this Neptunian realization leaves Mars with something of a conundrum. What then is the purpose of a warrior? What then is the value of strength? If violence is the last refuge of the ignorant, where then is the dignity and valor? With Mars-Neptune, the pondering of the questions can be more important than any attempts to answer them outright. That said, life will continue to present you with situations that seem to call for steadfastness, strength, decisiveness, and courage. And perhaps by softening your inner Mars a little, you'll be able to access those capacities without having to spend so much energy confronting anger, aggression, and malice. The challenges here to begin with, the aforementioned change to the orientation of your inner Mars, might not come so easy. This decentering of the ego and the adoption of a more surrendered mindset is not always smooth and relaxing process. Even if that is where it ultimately resolves, reactive patterns of behavior that put you in a frustrated, aggressive, or angry frame of mind may not be so easy to let go of. To make matters even more challenging, in the short term, Mars is ultimately no match for Neptune, and if their relationship within you is less than harmonious, you may experience feelings of defeat and apathy as your urge to move forward finds itself without a clear direction, right? And isn't that what I was saying? It's like, well, it just feels so frustrating because it's taking so long. There's so much to bring that into fruition. And so it feels like we don't have clear direction, even though we know this is our ultimate goal. But how do we have clear direction when it seems like I'm doing the steps I thought I needed to do to get there, but nothing seems to be happening? And it's because sometimes it's in the stillness when everything becomes possible. Mars energy needs to move through you, and the most natural way to enable this is to find a worthy target and just point and shoot. But the mysterious nature of Mars-Neptune can be expressed as material effort for immaterial aims. You may find ways to accept that your efforts need to be less focused on attainment of tangible victories and more oriented towards a deeper relationship to the mysteries of life. And what got you involved in this in the first place? Not the money, not the material gain, not the overall, like, I'm going to get famous or I'm going to have, financial freedom, whatever it is that's physical in this world. If that's what got you involved in this chasing the dream, ultimately that's going to fall away because there's something deeper here that needs to be explored, that more spiritual aspect. It says if you aren't able to integrate the two harmoniously, the energy of Mars-Neptune may feel detrimental during times when you are trying to accomplish a lot in a short period. If you are used to being busy, moving quickly, and particularly if your sense of identity and self-worth is all tied up with productivity, you might find the effects of Mars-Neptune to be quite stifling. If you are feeling inhibited and passive, as though your attempts to succeed are futile and insignificant, you might simply need to reevaluate the manner in which you measure and define success. The greatest battle for you to fight may be with the conditioned anxiety and hyperactivity of your own mind. Okay, and there's even more here, but I think I'm going to leave it there because I feel like that just totally confirmed what I was feeling when I turned over the deck and saw this here. So there's just this fight right now between what you want as monetary gain and what you want to create physically in this world. And when we let go of the monetary gain and tap back into, why is this creation so important to me? What is it that I feel like this brings into my life? Is this a freedom of expression? Is this allowing me to exert my gifts? Is this allowing me a freedom of authenticity? What is that? And then tapping more into that will allow you to feel more grounded and stable as you continue to overcome the obstacles that are along the path. So there is definitely a deep frustration across the collective, and I feel like it's powerful that that came out in the collective reading, just as a confirmation that you're not alone in the struggle. Sometimes we feel so isolated and alone in our struggle of manifestation and to getting what it is that we want in our lives, when that may not necessarily be the case. We may actually be feeling it on a collective level, but because we're only dealing with our own lives, it's very personal and it's very isolated. And letting go of that isolation and coming into this bigger state of mind, like this bigger mindset, and asking these questions, what am I fighting for? Am I fighting for money, or am I fighting for my freedom? What am I really truly fighting for? And only you can answer that. Maybe the answer is completely different than those two things, right? But only you can answer that. And reminding yourself that it matters and it is important, that will help excessively on your journey. All right, so for pile number 1, we do have this dice with the second house on it for you to choose from. Or we have this gemstone. I'm actually not sure what this is. I know it's purple, but I don't know what it is. For pile number 2, we have this dice with Saturn on it. Or we have this chakra pendant for you to choose from. On pile number 3, we have this dice with Uranus on it. Or we have this rock, which I believe is quartz. I believe it's a raw quartz that I got in California. So pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. Whichever pile you feel drawn to, that should be the pile for you, and I will see you over there. Hello, my fellow human. If you were drawn to this gemstone, which I apologize, I do not know what it's called. You're welcome to leave a comment down below if you know what it is. I know it's purple. if you were drawn to this dice with the second house on it, or if you were drawn to this card during the shuffle, then this is going to be a reading on Let Me Describe You. A couple things I'd like to say thank you to anyone and everyone that continues to be a supportive part of the journey with me here. I'm truly honored to be sharing this time and space with you. And if you're new here, welcome. This is a reminder that we're all here sharing this human experience together, and that this is a safe space to show up as your highest, most aligned, loving, authentic self. We do things completely differently here, so with that in mind, if the messages do happen to resonate, it would mean the world to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And really quickly, I just want to point out that I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. This could be something that you're going through right now, how you're currently evolving right now. This could be you as an overall energy. So I just ask that you keep an open heart as we go into that, because I'm letting Source bring through the messages through me that they want to express. All right, so let's get to it. Source, how would I describe pile number 1? What would you like to share with us today? Source, how would I describe pile number 1? What would you like to share with us today? Okay, so we've got the 11th house, we have Gemini energy, and we have Pluto. Ooh, I like this. You are very transformative energy. In fact, everybody that you've met, it wouldn't surprise me if you've changed a lot of people's lives or offered a lot of advice and help that has helped people see the world in a much bigger, unique way. You are very free with your communication, but it's about the things that you've learned. You're someone who sees transformation as an opportunity, not as something we need to resist or something that we need to shy away from. In fact, I feel like you have found peace in the state of transformation. When things become stable for you in a way, sometimes it gets overly boring, and you might stir things up a little bit for yourself and start doing shadow work again, or start digging deeper, or start learning more about spirituality or like occult things or the shadows. Like, what do people experience psychologically in the world? It would not surprise me if many of you studied psychology, are a psychologist, or in therapy. You do not have to or have to be, but I do feel like the workings of the mind and the healthy mental state is something that you have definitely taken time to explore on your own and for yourself. And whatever you learn, you very freely communicate that, especially with people that you know, people that you love and care about. You're very clear about that and sharing your own experiences with them and sharing the wisdom that you've gathered from that. You may have a podcast or some sort of online blog or something that you share over social media. That might be a platform that you use to share a lot of this information. You could also be a scientist and inventing new things, or really delving deep into the unknown and the mysteries. And like, I'm getting like quantum physics energy here. I'm getting like very, very untangible science type energy, and tangible as well, but very much this, it's the things that people don't understand, which of course science is such a vast topic, so many people wouldn't understand a lot of it, especially if it's not something that they've majored in or taken the time to learn about on their own even. But for you, I feel like you just really like diving deep into life's mysteries. So whatever it is that people maybe struggle with or shy away from, or just flat out are like, I don't want to know, you're like, bring more of that. I want to get to know more of what that is. You're definitely, what do I want to say here? You're a rebel, but it's an education rebel. If you were in school and they were teaching you biology, and it was just all based on the curriculum and you were following the curriculum. But it wouldn't surprise me if in that time frame and you wanted to go deeper, you actually went outside of the curriculum and found your own research and information on that. So I do feel like you might be a very good researcher, or just an information sponge. Really, you take in a lot. You may have an eidetic or photographic memory as well. That is a very specific message coming in. So that's not going to resonate with maybe but one or two of you. But I do feel like that's coming in. Now I want to get the whole nitty gritty. So I am going to use my Tarot Marseille deck today. And we're going to dive in. So Source, how can I describe, or how would I describe pile number 1? What would you like to share with us today? How would I describe pile number 1? Okay, thank you. How would I describe pile number 1? You've had a lot of misfortune in your life. You've had to work really hard to get anywhere. It feels like you have had to work extra hard, harder than people who are in the same field as you, or in the same, going the same journey as you. It feels like you've had to work twice as hard, or it appears that way. Right? From the outside looking in, it appears that way, but you have had to work exceptionally hard, and that's what sources are sure mentioning here. How would I describe pile number 1, Source? Yeah. Interesting. Okay, how would I describe pile number 1? There's a lot of face value things. It's like people take you at face value, and they don't get to know who you are as a person. So it's like, if you're really into science, right? So this would be the example. If you're really into science, they just automatically name you a nerd. And they don't want to get to know you because, oh, nerds have this stigma around them. And so they're just like, oh, look at pile 1, the nerd. And I feel like there's been a lot of times in your life when you were in solitude because of that, being judged by what you liked, or the things that you would, learn about, or even, it's not so much the way you look, but I am getting, maybe you wear glasses, or you have wore glasses. Some of you may have gotten LASIK recently as well. That's a really weird, strange message coming in, but we're going to go with it. But I do feel like there's this energy where you have always been labeled as what you're really not. You're actually incredibly smart and very intelligent. In fact, I feel like you have a very high IQ that would really put others in their place if they actually stopped and got to know you. It wouldn't surprise me too if many of you like to do trivia. That's coming in as well. Like maybe you go to the bar, like the restaurants that have like Friday night trivia, and you might join in on that because it gives you somewhere to go where there's other people who have access to a lot of quote unquote useless information, but it's not. It's just your way of learning, and that is beautiful in and of itself. Yeah, we have the Pope on the bottom. You're very committed to what it is that you're learning. I'm going to move the camera up a little bit here. Yeah, you're very committed to what it is that you are interested in and what you're learning. But again, this idea of sharing that with others. And maybe there haven't been a lot of people that have sought you out for information in your life, but I do feel like it's going to happen where suddenly people recognize that you are very well grounded and well versed in your topic of study, and they're going to be reaching out to you more. It's like, oh, go to pile 1 because pile 1 knows about this. Pile 1's been talking about this for forever, and now it's actually a thing, and we need to get that information from pile 1 because they're going to know the lowdown on it. And I feel like there are a lot of people that might come to you recently, or at least in the near future. It feels like that they're going to be coming and asking for help on something that only you can help them with, because there's only a role that you can fulfill, and it has to do with the way you see the world, but it has to do with the way that you absorb the world and the knowledge of the world here. So let's see what we've got going on here. The Queen of Swords in the reverse. Okay, and we've got the 9. Yeah. Okay, and the Three of Wands in the upright. Okay. Yeah, there's been a lot of people been really cold and cruel towards you. They expected everybody in their circle to fulfill this very shallow idea of what they thought people should be. You know, people who want to buy designer clothes, people who want to dress up, or people who want to get their hair done every week or their nails done every week, or, you know, wear fancy Jordans or wear Gucci and Prada or whatever it is. It's like very high name brands. Like, I feel like your whole life you've been surrounded by people who are very, very shallow and very ignorant to life, to the workings of life, and ignorant to book smarts even, right? I do feel like for you, pile one, you do have some street smarts, but I feel like you are mostly book smart and applied book smarts. Like, you apply what you learn, and it's something that it's like you're testing out theories, almost like Mythbusters is coming in. Wow, this is such a cool energy. Thank you for being you. If no one's told you, let me tell you, thank you for being you. I love minds like yours, and just it's like that juicy information that you're not going to get from just anybody. And I love that you're like this. I really do. But I do see that there's been a lot of people who've been really cruel and cold towards you. And, you know, again, with the Nine of Wands here in the reverse, there's that energy coming back in where it's feeling like I've had to work twice as hard to get to where it is that I am, or to get to anywhere it is that I want to go. It feels like I just have to overcome even more obstacles or even more barriers than what seems like other people. Like, you see people who step up into very clear roles in their life, and it's like I want to step up into a role like that as well, but it's almost like having to jump through hoops that are on fire, that are 20 feet off the ground, and still somehow land on the very edge so that you can go through the next one and have no room to actually get a running jump at it. That's what it feels like. It's just like a circus act that is a feat like none other. But with the Three of Wands here, it's like you're not also seeing that you're receiving this assistance from spirit, from source, from your higher self. You're receiving this assistance to clear the way so that when you, it's like moving past a certain blockage or moving past a certain belief, letting it go, you're going to be the one that people rely on for the wisdom that you're carrying. So none of what you have received, pile one, none of what you have gathered and have absorbed, none of it is useless. It is all incredibly useful and is all incredibly necessary for the next step of your journey. But I do see that there's a sense of frustration here, and it's not just been from one or two people. This has been from a huge group of people, like one after the other. Like, you leave one toxic situation to step into another toxic situation, and you've only ever found solace in either your spiritual studies, right, so the occult or anything like that, or in your studies of science here with the Pope. It's just that commitment to what brings you a feeling of like, I can do something for myself, or I'm just really interested in this, and so I'm going to pour into that. And you're standing out. If you're not recognizing that yet, you are standing out. But I also feel like there's that energy where you're very humble, and even though you're incredibly smart, you're not going to sit here and rub it in other people's faces. And maybe at some point you had, right? Maybe at some point you got so frustrated with life and you're just like, nobody is as smart as I am. And it's so irritating that they think that they know everything. And maybe that backfired for some of you, but I feel like mostly it's like you learned a lesson if you did do that. And that's okay, right? I'm not here like, oh, how dare you? Source is not here like, how dare you? That was just a part of the process. But I feel like most of you have really this humble energy about you, where it's just like people don't understand how smart I am, and it's easier for me to play the dumb blonde, if you will, instead of standing out for how intelligent I am, which is why it wouldn't surprise me if many of you went to trivia night or even did trivia online or something like that. It's like you're trying to find communities where other people do the same thing or gather knowledge. Like if you're a scientist, you want to hang out with other scientists, right? But sometimes that can get a little questionable too, because there's still always the hierarchies, and there's still always the cliques, and there's still the people who, oh, just because I chose this route, I'm obviously better than that person over there. But there's this frustration that's coming through for you, Pile 1. And I feel like Source is saying, like, something is going to shift for you, and it's not going to take too long to shift for you here. But keep pouring into the things that make you feel connected to yourself and to your journey, because that's where the real power lies. And that's where things will happen for you. You're doing the right thing for you because it's what matters to you. And doing what matters to you is the only thing that's right. Yeah. Pluto again. Another. And it just flew in. You saw it fly in, right? So we have Pluto again with transform. You're someone who lives in a state of transformation. And that really does trigger a lot of people, because change is so feared. Everybody wants consistency, and everybody wants things to be a constant state of unchanging energy. But that's not the way life is. And for you, you found, I keep coming back to this energy, like finding peace with the transformation. That's why I said it's like if you get into a state where there's nothing really happening, it could appear very boring to you. And you might shake it up a little bit in order to create that transformation, or to create that change again, to kind of like grease the wheels is what it feels like here. And that is something that you'll always do, I feel like, for your whole life. And it's by design. You're designed that way. It wouldn't surprise me if you had a lot of air in your chart. Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, or if you also had a lot of Scorpio in your chart, or both Scorpio and Aquarius in your chart together. So you could have like a Scorpio moon, Aquarius rising, a Scorpio sun, Aquarius moon. You could have Scorpio sun and rising with an Aquarius 8th or 9th house. Wow, okay. You could also have Pluto in Aquarius as well coming in. So on the bottom we have Venus. Give and receive love, find value and see beauty. Yeah, you don't realize that you're a pearl in the making. And it takes time to make pearls, right? They don't happen overnight. But the unique thing about a pearl is it's created, which you probably already know, but just in case you didn't, it's created by a grain of sand that gets trapped inside of the clam or the oyster, I guess, whoever it is that's the pearl makers. And it's an irritant, and they roll it around, and there's like, I'm not sure all the scientific terms, but it comes from being rolled around in their mouth, and it can take years to make. And it's the saliva that collects, and the minerals from their saliva and all that stuff. And please don't get on to me about not knowing that. I just don't know the terms like that. I'm the one that doesn't remember the names to terms and all that stuff. But you know, it's this energy where it's irritating until it's seen as the beauty that it is. And that's what I feel like. People may have been very irritated by you in life, and that's why they treated you the way that they did, is because they were irritated by how smart you were, irritated because you didn't fit in, or irritated by whatever it was. But they are eventually going to see the pearl that emerges as you. That's what's happening. It's like you rub people raw, but it's for the sense of seeing that things don't have to be the way that everybody expects or wants them to be. There's so much more to life than, you know, the clothes that we wear, the cars that we drive, the house that we live in, or the friends that we have, just as appearances, right? Not people that we have in our lives as friends are important, but what I'm saying is this feels like as appearances, very shallow connections. They lack so much. And you're someone that's digging into that part of life, into the sticky, yucky mess at the bottom of the barrel that no one wants to deal with. Like, you're like, cool, I'll get in there and clean it. Right? Radical honesty. Yeah, you're a very honest person. To believe in the facade is to suffocate in the armor of alienation, self-defeat, and self-denial. You chose at a very early age to not believe what everybody else was believing. You chose not to fit into society. It was easier for you to be yourself and to stand out because that felt right from an early age. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you got alienated a lot. But there's something about you that was always like, I'd rather be honest with myself than to fit in with all these fake people. And you stood by that, and you fought for yourself, or at least you fought in the sense of, I'm going to go and do what I want to do for myself, even if it's in solitude, and even if I'm alone, because I'd rather be alone and happy with myself than to be involved and miserable with people who want me to be shallow and lack any sort of depth. On the bottom, yeah, it's very instinctual for you. The wolf instinct. It's almost, and you knew early on, you recognized that choosing this was gonna create problems and obstacles, but there was no other choice for you. And I feel like for you, pal, when you're someone who really, when you know what you want, there's nothing that's gonna stop you from going towards that. Even if it's a long journey, like, you're cool with that. I'm just going to go towards it, and I know I'm going to get it at no cost, or at all costs. Like, and you do. You put forth 100% of your effort, and you get it. And you're not afraid to follow that instinct within, that intuitive nudge. All right, Source, what else for pile number 1? Cycles, hair. Yeah. So this comes back to that I was feeling earlier with those people that kept coming in. They kept coming in. It's like you'd leave one toxic situation and another one would come in. And it was just this like round robin of relationships, of people treating you certain ways or holding very unrealistic expectations of you. It's almost like, oh, you can't be that smart and be who you are. Or, you know, like, you can't be smarter than me. Let me break down your self-esteem. And I feel like you fought with self-esteem issues as well, or like self-confidence and the fear of sharing just how incredibly intelligent you are. Like I said, if you have an eidetic memory, there's not a lot of people that know that about you. And if there is people that know about it, it's because, you know, maybe it's family who, obviously when you have an eidetic memory, you recognize that from a very early age. And I do feel like it might develop later on in life, but many people, they have it from a very early age. And, you know, having a photographic memory as well it's a challenge, right? That's a challenge because it's like already you're like compartmentalizing in your mind. It's kind of like the palace, the memory palace, if you know what that is. The memory palace is like where you use a familiar home or a familiar place that you've traveled to, and each room is for something specific that you file away memories in those, and file away like names or dates or something like that. And the memory palace can actually help you with your memory, you know, and it's a very useful tool, and it works really good. But I feel like for you, it's something that you already knew how to do, something you had developed in a prior life. And if you have an eidetic memory, like, I'm not sure what that comes from. It's just something that where someone literally can cite the words on a page that someone's reading. If I were to start the pages of one word, and then you would just be able to read from where I started all the way through, like, without skipping. Right? And so that's what's so difficult, because it's like when people recognize that or something, it's like they could have tried to use you, or they could have tried to abuse that skill that you have. And that's why it's something that you've kept close to you. But I do feel like that's that leaving from one toxic situation to another. The other thing that's odd that's coming in here is that someone here might be bilingual, and being bilingual had kept your family from choosing to learn the second language, whatever your second language is. It kept your family from learning your second language. And if you've got a photographic memory or eidetic memory, they relied on it so much that it felt like, you know, like, I don't want to tell anybody else about this, because it just kept them in a state of I don't want to say it's laziness, but I do feel like you felt that way at some point. Like they're being lazy. Like instead of them trying, they're making me do all the work because they think it comes easy to me. And regardless if it does or it doesn't, they should still put forth an effort. So I feel like for you, it's always like, why don't people put forth the effort in life that is necessary? Why am I the only one that has to put, and that comes back to always feeling like you have to work twice as hard as everyone else. Okay, I see that coming full circle now. Are you just like, why don't people put in the effort that I know life is, it's necessary to have this effort in life? And that's why it's like, so you see when people are being very lackadaisical with their own life, with their own journey, and with what is necessary for them to do. And I feel like many times when people had relied on you, and it doesn't necessarily have to be bilingual, that was just the example that came through, but if people were leaning on you so much like that, it's like you've asked yourself this question, like, what would they have done if I wasn't there? They would have been forced to put in the effort, right? And that's how you see it. So you do everything, it seems like, in your power to make sure that people don't know just how smart you are, but you still share your information with others. And it feels like you share just the iceberg, like the tip of the iceberg with others, because if they actually saw the full picture of how much you know, you feel like that would give people an opportunity or want to take advantage of you. On the bottom, peace. Oh my gosh, this is that confirmation with Gorilla here. It's like you found peace in the transformation, peace in the change. What a confirmation to come through. Thank you, Source. Thank you. I love that. Okay, so let's get a few more cards out here. How would I describe pile number 1, Source? The Priest. Facilitates spiritual commitments and serves as a channel of spiritual energy, which is exactly this Pope energy. So you could have psychic abilities as well, and maybe you've been exploited for your psychic abilities along the journey. We have the Shadows. Violates the trust of your spiritual community and seduced by your own spiritual role. I feel like that's that energy coming in where it's like a lot of people have violated your trust because of your abilities, and they've taken advantage of you. And that's what this feels like with the Priest card. We have Goddess energy on the bottom. It says the feminine exposed through wisdom, nature, life force, and sensuality. So seeing the world differently, right? Through these eyes of nurturing love, care, compassion. Just understanding that the world works in a different way than all these very selfish, superficial people saw it. And then we have exploitation of the female nature and form. And again, that exploitation is coming through as confirmation. It's not about necessarily being the female form or nature, which it could absolutely be, but I do feel like by nature you're more feminine in your feminine energy. And again, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, none of that matters. It's just that you're more of this soft person. Like you receive information, you receive wisdom, you receive knowledge, but you're not necessarily acting on it so quickly, right? Even with the Pope, ruled by Taurus, okay? Ruled by Venus, right? Very feminine by nature. The Pope is still a feminine energy in the deck. So it's that same type of energy coming through here where it's like, I will give you this key, but I also am not going to be exploited or taken advantage of along the way. See, we have that slow and steady wins the race, this energy coming in where it's confirming that it feels like this has been a long drawn out journey. It feels like you've had to put forth that extra effort, but there's also a purpose for that, right? We have 62, which is 8. You're clearing out karmic cycles, but you're also creating new cycles in your life to bring in abundance. Carving new pathways, carving new neurological pathways as well. Yeah, you're a very generous spirit. We have 37, which is 10. This is the ending of a cycle for you. We have be generous of spirit, right? So priest, the Pope. Okay, so coming back to that, maybe you're just incredibly spiritual, which is awesome as well. But again, take it as it resonates. But I do feel like this generous of spirit is also confirming that when you learn something, like you're willing to be generous and give that information to others. I don't want people to not have this information when it could potentially help them. All right, let's get just a couple more. Pride with the lion too. It says, I love myself and I see myself in everyone. I feel like you've been knocked down by other people's ego and pride. On the bottom, discipline, but that just gave you reason to stick with your discipline. I accomplished what I set my mind to. And didn't I say that earlier? It's like whatever it is that you want, you go towards it. You don't even question it. You're like, nope, I'm gonna get it because I want it. What else, source, for pile 1? Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. Alright, so on the bottom we have, strength. You're a pillar in your community, whether or not you recognize that or see that. And there's a lot of passion that drives this strength, okay? There's a lot of groundedness in what it is that you're researching. So it could be sciencey, it could be spiritual, it could be law, it could be psychological. We got that psychological at the beginning. So whatever it is that you spend your time researching and diving into, you've built a solid foundation in that area. Spirit self, wow. Be who you are as you are. You're rebelling. Like, you're rebelling. I love this. I love this. This is confirmation. You're this very rebellious spirit. And like, even from a young age, like, you're cool with that. Like, you've owned that. There's been a ton of solitude in your life with Island and Solitude. There's been a lot of alone time. But for you, I feel like it's easier to embrace that solitude and know that this gives me space to do what I want to do rather than be here and try to make other people feel better about themselves, to validate others, or to make other people, feel like they're on a pedestal. It's not that you don't give lovingly to others, you do, but you're not someone that's going to go out of your way to feed others' egos. That's not what you do. Illumination. Yeah, you're very aware of yourself, of how life works, of the things that are going on around the world. So you see the world differently from anybody that has been close to you your whole life, and it's a very powerful energy indeed. So we're going to check out your archetypal astrological oracle card. And I'm going to read this from the book. These are quite long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we'll definitely tap in and see what's coming through. Jupiter, the planet of luck, the big planet of expansion and luck. So there is meant to be a lot of luck in your life, right? But I feel like that also comes from you choosing to embrace that transformation. All right, so Jupiter says, we cannot cure the world of sorrows, but we can choose to live in joy. And this is by Joseph Campbell, the Sun conjunct Jupiter. And it says, Jupiter has this brilliant oblivion. He doesn't mind the way you mock. He goes about his business not caring that you find him self-important. He blesses you all the same. Weary, souled, battered, broken, washed up on the shores of disbelief and unfulfillment, breathing life within you, filling you with self-importance, not too much now, just enough so that you can exist. Since the archetype associated with planet Jupiter has to do with expansion, benevolence, gratitude, majesty, and grace. Jupiter is the principle of scale. What is local, Jupiter globalizes. What is subtle and implicit, Jupiter aggrandizes and publicizes and makes obvious. Jupiter even makes big things bigger. It is an extremely inclusive and magnanimous archetype. With Jupiter, there is always more room at the table. The door is always open. Every viewpoint perspective is welcome. Every person and personality type invited. Every idea considered with great enthusiasm. Jupiter speaks to our urges to learn and teach, uplifting our curiosity and expanding it, and highlighting the dignity of high quality education. Especially those topics which are commensurate with Jupiter's ultimate propensity for synthesizing diverse elements into greater, more inclusive wholes. Jupiter uplifts and expands whatever it enacts with in the chart. It helps us to see the positive side of what the other archetypes and makes us confident that our attempts to do inner work of integrating the experiences that relate to them. Yeah, and that's what I was saying, that transformation. You're not afraid to do the inner work. And there's times when things might get boring and you're just like, nope, it's time to do inner work. We got to shake things up. Jupiter reveals the philosophical, high-minded, and idealistic sides of whatever it touches. It glorifies or crowns what it comes into contact with. Whatever is aspecting Jupiter is enlarged and magnified. When taken to extremes, its stately and impressive stature can seem overblown, pompous, and oblivious, and even caricatured in its own excessive glory and overabundant opulence. Yet even when this is so, the profound goodwill of Jupiter archetype remains undimmed. When we as individuals become inflated, the universe quickly comes along to burst our illustrious bubbles. Pride cometh, like we had pride come out, pride cometh before the fall, and such and so forth. But there is no skepticism sufficiently potent to undermine the deepest layer of the Jupiter archetype, no amount of ill will, ingratitude, or disregard that can discourage its benevolence. To exist at all is an audacious feat, and one that requires an immense degree of confidence and a frankly unfathomable amount of good fortune, and Jupiter is the archetypal force that provides it. Lucky us. And I feel like this is exactly the type of person that you are. I also feel like you're very like this might be how you talk as well. Like you very have an extensive vocabulary and talk like this. That's very cool. Jupiter is itself the archetype most related to gifts. So all gifts in some sense evoke the Jupiter archetype simply by their very nature. In a more particular sense, though, Jupiter can provide the confidence needed to engage with the world around you, such that your own needs for growth and expansion might be fulfilled. It naturally inspires your impulses to better yourself by learning and to be part of something larger than yourself. In an everyday sense, this speaks to your willingness to participate in groups, organizations, and other collective efforts in order to change things for the better. And in the spiritual sense, Jupiter is the aspect of the divine that helps you see the gods and goddesses as benevolent forces of superior wisdom, more able to see the whole cosmic picture than we are as limited human beings. Whatever form the sacred takes for you, Jupiter helps you to approach it with reverence and gratitude, to be joyfully humbled by the overwhelming wonder and majesty of all, to experience the immense satisfaction of a life worth living and a life well lived. And the challenges are, because Jupiter is the very archetype of excess, the expressions of too much Jupiter are very easy to notice, because growth and good fortune are part of its good nature, or its core nature. Jupiter also expresses itself through us in terms of greed and entitlement. Because its association with majesty and scale, we can also experience it as grandiosity and inflation. And didn't I say that, like, you might have had that pride, that over excessive arrogance at some point, but you've learned from that, okay? And that's okay, just honoring that part of yourself. There's no judgment here. We're all human. I've been there. I've done that, right? So it's just part of the human experience. Because Jupiter is the principle of optimism and hope, we may express it as overconfidence, hubris, or seeing the world through rose-tinted lenses. Your natural aspects involving Jupiter may point to areas of life within which you have experienced privileges and good fortunes that others have not. It is important that your dealings with others, that you don't brush aside their hardships simply because you have not personally experienced it. And that comes back to what I was saying too. It's like always seeing from the outside in, it looks like you've had to work twice as hard as everyone else. And that can create a sense of separation, pile one. But remembering that, yes, your experiences have been incredibly hard. We are not invalidating that in any sense. But to also remember that we only see a speck of other people's lives. So we actually truly don't know or understand what others have experienced in the whole. It says invitations here. The simplest and most direct way to invite Jupiter archetype into your life is by giving. And we see that you do just that. And learning how to graciously receive. And that's why I was saying you're in that more feminine energy right now. Generosity need not be financial or even material. In fact, the subtler forms of giving are usually not only more available, but also more profound. Learn to place more value on the gifts of your time, attention, listening, and curiosity. The people who you care for can benefit immensely from receiving these gifts. Often what people are most grateful for are small, unexpected acts of kindness. If you give your attention to people, you can find out what they really need. What for you may be an easy, simple gesture may be received by them as an act of divine grace. It's often the combined effect of many tiny things that allows people to see the world in a more positive light and approach life with just a little more optimism. Wow. So beautiful. I love this. I love this energy. I'm truly honored to connect with you today, pile number 1. This is what I see for you here. If you felt like this was your reading, I'm gonna shake it up a little. Leave the skull emoji down below and say, through transformation and change, I continue to connect with the highest part of myself, and thus I illuminate the world around me. And if it resonated, it would mean so much to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And if you're interested in supporting the channel further, please check out the description box. It will have everything you need. And with that, I would love to take this moment to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, your angel source, and my spirit guides for coming together to give us this incredibly profound message. And until next time, pile number 1, stay human. Bye. Hello, my fellow human. If you were drawn to this dice with Saturn on it, or if you were drawn to this little chakra pendant, or if you were drawn to this card during the shuffle, this is going to be a reading on how would I describe you, or let me describe you. First, I would like to say thank you to anyone and everyone that continues to be a supportive part of this journey with me. I'm truly honored to be sharing this time and this space with you. And if you happen to be new here, welcome. This is a reminder that we're all here sharing this human experience together, and that this is a safe space to show up as your highest, most aligned, loving, authentic selves. We do things completely differently on this channel. So with that being said, if the messages do happen to resonate with you, it would mean the world to me if you're to like, comment, and subscribe below. We are going to go ahead and hop to, but I just quickly want to point out that with this reading, this could be something that you've gone through. This could be something you are going through. This could be you as your evolution is continuing. This could be you from a past self. So I didn't actually put stipulations on this for source. It's just whatever source wants to bring through me to you in this moment. Okay, so keeping an open mind and an open heart as we get into this. But here we go. So source, how would I describe pile number 2? What would you like to share with us today, source? How would I describe pile number 2? What would you like to come through today, source? Okay, so we have the 10th house, we have Pisces energy here, and we have the sun. You are a big dreamer, and you're someone who's also very, very hardworking. You're very disciplined. You do try to be as consistent as possible. I do feel like sometimes, though, there are moments when you can't stay as consistent as you would like, and you might beat yourself up because of that. And I feel like source is just saying, don't beat yourself up. You're not a robot. We're not trying to be robots here, right? We're still human. We're still here to experience the whole of human existence. And I feel like you're also just this very bright light. You're a natural born leader. And it doesn't scare you to stand up and take charge. So like, if there's any kind of situations, whether that's in life and work, or like even out in public, if there's any kind of situation where a leader needs to step up and take charge, you are often the first person to do that. And it's just because you see that, you know, not everybody's willing to do that. Not everybody's willing to step into that role. Wouldn't surprise me if there's a lot of masculines on pile number 2, okay? And if you're not a masculine, that's perfectly okay. But I do feel like personally, pile number 2, there's this energy that's coming in where you do lean on your divine masculine energy more than your feminine energy. And that's okay. That's all right, right? You've just learned to master that positive, action-oriented, always moving towards the goal and being bright and standing out energy. And yet we also see here that you are capable of dreaming, and you're very capable of also connecting people with a deep compassion and a deep love. You see the world as a one whole. I was gonna say One Piece, and I don't know why that came through, so maybe you're a huge fan of One Piece, but I actually have not watched the whole series or anything, and I've not read many of the books, but I know it. So it's just weird that it came in so strongly. But yeah, you see the whole world as one collective, and it's like you really embody that. You don't recognize people as separate from you. Like, the collective mind is something that you recognized right away, even from an early age. I feel like you recognize that right away. And I do feel this energy that everything that you delve into is to benefit the whole of the collective. It wouldn't surprise me if you have Pisces highly aspect in your chart, or incredibly benefic 12th house placements. But we also see here, it's like you could have the sun in Pisces, 10th house in Pisces. You could also have a north node or south node in Pisces, which would make your north node or south node also in Virgo. So Virgo, Pisces, north or south or north node. That's coming in as well. I also feel like you have beautiful psychic gifts. Like, that could be, anything. It could be psychic medium. You could just be a psychic. You could have the ability to read auras. You could have clairaudience, clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairsentience, clairauditory. And then I don't ever remember the one that's like clear tasting, but it's like you can perceive tastes, and that's coming through. You could have an array of all of those. Also, you could read energies. You could tap into energies. You are a deep empath, a very acute empath coming in here as well. And you're just capable of really putting on other people's skins. As weird as that sounds, but it's true. It's almost like you can experience what other people have gone through without ever having experienced that yourself. It's not difficult for you to see or imagine the pain, the suffering, the joy, the excitement, the all that a person would experience going through whatever it is that they have shared with you. And that's what makes you this really profound leader as well. And I feel like people look up to you because you're this embodiment of encouragement. You help people in a very gentle but firm way. It's like, I'm going to give you encouragement, but I'm also going to make sure that that encouragement doesn't bolster your ego, but at the same time, it reminds you of your own innate sense of worth and power. So it's like constructive criticism in a very gentle way, but a very we need to take action kind of way. And it inspires others to take action as well. I do feel like this is something that you are realizing is a part of your purpose, is to help the collective. And so you're definitely doing something to move towards that so that you feel fulfilled. And I feel like that's something that's always made you feel fulfilled, is helping people. All right, let's get the tarot and see what comes through here. So, Source, how would I describe pile number 2? Whoa, okay. This card wants to be seen. Yeah, oh, look at this. Okay, this is interesting. I'm just going to show this because this card flipped out when I was trying to split the deck. It just like fell out. And we have the Pope. We have the Knight of Wands in the reverse and the 2 Cups in the reverse. It's interesting because I feel like you love people deeply. And look, I'm a Pisces. I have Pisces highly aspect in my chart. I have so much water in my chart. It's absolutely insane. But the thing is that I feel like with this energy coming out, if you've got a lot of Pisces in your chart, like you could easily fall in love with people. and imagine a whole life with them, and then give this person or these people the benefit of the doubt, even when they're very toxic for you. And I feel like that's been a really difficult lesson that you've had to learn along the way. You've acquired many a broken heart from people who were not aligned with you, and now you're coming into it's a wise leader, right? Again, the spiritual father of the tarot here with the Pope, this energy. You could have come from pile number 1 as well, but this is a different energy that's coming in, but this could resonate with you as well. This is a very powerful energy coming in. It's like you're recognizing that we're all here to learn about ourselves and to grow spiritually, but that broken hearts and toxic relationships don't need to be standing in the way of that we have a choice to overcome that. So how would I describe pile number 2, source? You could be also a therapist, like a marriage counselor is coming in, or you've had to attend marriage counseling or couples counseling, and that helped give you tools and modalities to heal yourself from that struggle and that suffering. You could also be the one that everybody comes to for relationship advice. Yeah, that's definitely an energy coming in here. How would I describe pile number 2, source? Okay, thank you. How would I describe pile number 2? How would I describe pile number 2, source? Okay, yeah. So it was in reverse in the deck, but it flipped out in the upright, which is hilarious. I watched the whole thing happen. I don't know if the camera caught it. I never know because I'm pretty far back from the camera, but anyways, with the Popess coming out and the Pope, right, talking about how psychic you are, like you're incredibly psychic. I also feel like you being psychic is very intimidating to a lot of people. And even if they don't know that you're psychic, because you are very aware of things. Like I said, it's like, I know that's such a weird way to put it, but that's what was coming. It's like you can put on their skin. You can experience their life. And that scares them because their whole lives they've been shown that no one understands them or no one cares to understand them. And you walk in and not only do you understand them, but you're willing to feel the pain that they've experienced, or it's just something that you're capable of doing. And it could have been very difficult for you, pile 1, to separate what was really yours to carry versus what was a burden of others' lives that you might have taken on to carry as your own. And that might have been a challenge for you somewhere along the ways. Like, and a lot of people might have noticed that early on, like, especially if you've had a lot of toxic relationships in your life. There was a lot of toxic people in your life that were like, hey, pile number 2 is going to carry all my burdens, so let me go ahead and push them onto them. And so people might have dumped on you quite a bit until you decided to set boundaries with them or even cut them out of your life because you recognize that they were just taking advantage of your ability to feel that deep empathy for them. And sometimes it's like a drug, right? Sometimes it's like a drug for people, like, oh my gosh, somebody can feel how I'm feeling. But also think about when someone gets addicted to something, all the phases they go through, right? They go through the sweet talking phase to get what they want. Then they go through the anger phase, the blame phase. And I feel like that's something that you've experienced just by being you. You've been ridiculed by others. You've been blamed by others for the fact that you've been able to feel their pain or the fact that you've been able to understand them. Because of that, you've been resented, you've been, judged deeply, or you've been really, I feel like there's been a lot of insults that have been hurled at you in very unkind ways. I mean, not that any insult is kind, but it's like just very unkind things have been said about you to your face because of your ability to tap in and your ability to love so deeply. And sometimes people get so triggered by that. It's like they want to be understood, right? Everybody in the world wants to be understood. And you know that, pile 2. But also the fear that comes from when we're actually being understood. It says that our emotional ego says, oh, so we're not separate, which this whole time we've been trying to convince ourselves that we are separate. And so that trigger definitely becomes a projection along the way. Yeah, you're a very loving, kind, compassionate person. You oftentimes over romanticize your life, which, look, in the grand scheme of things, romanticizing our lives is actually an incredibly beautiful thing for us to do. But we have to be careful. We have to recognize, am I romanticizing something that is beneficial for me? Or am I romanticizing something that I want to be so? And I'm overlooking red flags. And that's what I mean when I said it might have been very difficult for you to see where you ended and where another person began. And it was like really romantic situations. Again, if you could have Pisces in Venus or Pisces in the 7th house placement, but it could have been this energy of where your lovers is like, you wanted them to feel good, and so you would do everything in your power to take away their pain, to take away their suffering. And eventually you might have done all of that. You might have even transmuted a lot of that energy as well, but it left them feeling empty. And that feeling of emptiness, instead of seeing it as space to really fill with something else, they were filling it with suspicion, or they were filling it with hate, or they were filling it with resentment, or filling it with anger. And soon what felt like it could have been steady, like I feel like you would have done everything for anybody. I'm also getting that you might have high Cancer placements, a lot of Cancer in your chart, and there's that energy of giving the shirt off your back. If it's all you had to give, you would still give the shirt off your back. And you went out of your way and lost yourself in some situations, and now you're learning how to reground yourself in this energy, in this gift, and seeing it as the gift that it is, rather than the curse that it may have felt like for so long. And seeing that when you don't pay attention to people, or when you don't give to people who are just trying to use and abuse you, that you can actually help people who want to be helped. And I feel like that sense and that feeling makes you have a sense of purpose, because you always have this energy of wanting to help others, wanting to tap into others, wanting to help them know that they're not alone. Yeah, you've outgrown dealing with these tricksters, these people who don't know what they want to do with their own life. Or maybe you've outgrown this sense of not being sure yourself, being a little bit wishy-washy. You know, where do I want to go? What type of work do I want to do? I need a drink. Or what is it that I want to be known for? What is it, the journey that I want to pursue? You know, the Fool is an interesting energy in and of itself, because it can really point at people who are foolish and manipulative, but it can also point towards us not being sure, right? Not being sure and going backwards to go forwards, but continuing backwards because we're not sure we can gather the strength or the courage to move forward. But right now, with the Popess being at the very beginning of your reading, not only that, she automatically looks into the past, because the past is where she gains clarity, insight, intuition, and her ability to see beyond the veil, because she's looking at how it's affected her from the past and how Source is connected with her in the past. And that wisdom comes from that. And she's also this very secretive, hidden figure. So when you hide that from certain people, right, now you're able to move on beyond those people and give to the people who want your abundance, right, and who aren't going to just keep creating a lot of chaos in your life later on, but who see that you have something that's beautiful to offer, because you do. You're very loving, kind, generous energy, a very giving energy, a very big energy as well. And I feel like you're very much led by your intuition or the gut instinct that you receive. So like you could take action based, oh, I got a gut feeling. Like that might have been your whole life. I got a gut feeling. And people might have laughed at you because you said that. But every time you said that, everything worked out the way that you expected it to. And that could have been something that people were like, oh, I can take advantage of that. And so they did. Yeah, you're also like with 2 and your pile number 2, that's very synchronistic as well. There's a lot of contrast here, right? There's a lot of embracing the shadow and also embracing the light, recognizing that one does not exist without the other. That's why I'm saying like you have this very collective mindset or this collective conscious mindset. And you're willing to embrace both the good and the bad of people. Like you're not, oh, someone treated me, even if the people who treated you rotten or poorly in your past, like you're not sitting here saying like, oh, it's all their fault that I can't have success in my life, or blaming them the way that they blamed you. I don't feel like you've ever done that. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if you teach others forgiveness, or that's something that's very near and dear to your heart, is forgiveness of the past situations and the past people in life. You could be one of the star children of the violet light ray of forgiveness. You're brought here to give forgiveness and to teach forgiveness. Again, that's not going to resonate with everyone, but I do feel like that's coming through on this reading. And there's also this energy where it's like you just see things from this place of, if we hold on to the anger, the hurt, and the pain, it only keeps us further disconnected from what it is that we want to create, or how it is that we want to present ourselves in this world from a place of love. And so you do your best to learn from those mistakes, but also to forgive. And maybe not forget, but to let go for sure. And some of you may very well be in the mindset of forgive and forget. And it's not to forget to let those people in again, but forgive and forget so it's just not a burden anymore. So literally you're putting down the anchor in the sand and saying, look, Source, I forgive and I forget, and I leave this to you to deal with, because I got other things I got to focus on, and this is too much for me to carry. The 9th house, spiritual growth. Yeah, definitely this very spiritual energy coming in, very wise, a grand teacher, grand master energy coming in as well. You could have been a grand master in a past life as well as coming in. It's interesting the past life energy is being presented in your reading. So I do feel like that is something that might resonate deeply with you, is like you've tried to look into past life or done past life regression as well. I do feel like that's coming in. You might have been a guru or a master in your previous life. What else, Source, for pile number 2? How would I describe pile number 2? Okay, this is the one that wants to come through. All right, on the bottom, renewal. Regeneration begins with decay. This actually confirms what I was just saying about the past life regression, right? It's like, it's something it's dead and gone. Why do I have that song? Dead and gone. Who sings that song? I don't even remember, but that song, I think it's called Dead and Gone. I think that's what it's called. I don't know. Anyways, if you know and you would like to comment that down below to help out other pile 2s, just know that that truly does help me, and I really do thank you for doing that. But regeneration begins with decay. It's like realizing that what's dead and gone, what's over with in the past, is what you can learn from, which is what we saw with the Popess as well. Looking to the past to find peace with the present. Ooh, I love that confirmation so much, Source. Thank you. Whoa, okay. All right. Just flying in right out the bat. We have Earth Magic with fairies here. Yeah, you are so giving. You are so loving, and this deep connection. It wouldn't surprise me. You could be a green witch or a green warlock. If not, that's okay. This just shows that you just really tap into nature, the cycles of nature. You ebb and flow with the cycles of nature. Like the solstices and the equinoxes could be very potent times for you, and you've recognized that, or you follow that, or you follow the moon cycles or the season changes. Like those are all very potent times for you, and so you tap into that, and you're finding magic there, and you're also finding wisdom there. And I feel like you like to be in nature. You could be someone who camps a lot, who fishes a lot, who goes out and takes day trips out in the wilderness or goes to the beach. Not so, I mean, the beach a little bit, but I feel like this is like really, really almost like survivalist skills. That's what this feels like with the earth magic and fairies coming in. This feels like I'm going out to see if I can survive a night in the wilderness under the stars with nothing but my little tent that I tie up on a tree, and if I can make a fire and do something like that. That's what this feels like. But again, if it's just regular camping, if you will, because I don't really know what you consider regular camping anymore, what people consider regular camping anymore. So whatever's regular camping to you, I feel like that's something you do quite frequently. And even in winter months, I feel like you're still connecting with nature in that way. It wouldn't surprise me, many of you still went out and camped in the winter time, even if it was snowing. Like, that doesn't deter you from doing something that you love. Whoa, this is a really beautiful reading. I love your energy. It's so peaceful and welcoming. Truly it is. Thank you for letting me connect with you this way. I really am honored to be here. We have responsibility with Meerkat. This goes back to what I was saying, like that fatherly energy, that tapping into the divine masculine energy. You know, you're someone who sees a problem and you're gonna fix it, and you find creative solutions to it. It's almost like it's a responsibility for you to find creative solutions to it, and that is very divine masculine, right? Divine feminines, they're looking to follow their intuition, they're looking to, which you do as well, you're very balanced. But I feel like the thing is that you also recognize that if something needs to be solved, you're going to try to figure out a way to solve it if it's within your realm of things to solve. And you're trying to show people that there's so much more than just seeing things as, you know, like if it's broken, is it really broken? You're getting people to ask these questions, or like if people are like, I absolutely will not forgive, you're helping them to see, like, what's the point of that? Like, really, tell me, what's the point of that? And then when they say, well, just because, how could I ever forgive someone that treated me this way? And then you might have a story to share, or again, feeling their pain. Like, I absolutely understand that. I absolutely would, you know, agree that it's very difficult to forgive a situation that way. But at the same time, if you're holding on to it and it happened 10 years ago, is you holding on to it today hurting the person that hurt you? And when they're like, well, no, but it's like, well, think about that. But it's still hurting you, right? And they're like, well, yeah. And it's like you help them see it differently, right? You help them see it not just as black and white, but there's actually a lot more to it than that. Rhinoceros with moderation here. And that's the other thing, is that you do things in moderation. So like, even if you're standing up to be the leader, even if you're standing up to be in charge of something, like you're not someone who's very aggressive about it. You're absolutely taking charge, yes, but you're not expecting everybody to listen to you. You're someone who's going to take in ideas from others. Again, that collective mindset you see is, if we all work together, we're all going to get further. We're all going to have a better life if we all work together. Or like if you're a boss in a company, right? You're getting ideas from your team. You're getting ideas from your employees, because you're seeing it like, if we can all come together, that solution mindset, right? If we can all come together with viable solutions and build something from there, it's going to make it easier, and it's going to make everybody feel like they're heard, and no one's going to really give that pushback. Right? It's not going to be so resistant to it anymore. They're all going to accept, like, hey, I helped with this. Look, wow, the Fool came out from the Archetype deck. Hold on, I need a drink. Okay, pile 2, I just have to ask, are you drinking enough water? Because I was fine on pile 1. I got to your pile and I feel like I'm so parched. I literally feel like a beached fish, okay? Like, I am so parched. My tongue is so dry right now, and I do this a lot, so I am usually fine. I can get through a whole reading without drinking too much. But with you, it feels like maybe you need to drink a little bit more water. or hydrate more. Maybe you're drinking too much. And again, I'm not here judging. I'm not here telling you you have to stop drinking soda or anything like that. But maybe we're drinking a little bit too much soda and not enough water. So there might be an imbalance there that Source wants to point out. I know that's a very specific message that's coming through, but I just feel like I need to say it because, wow, I just literally feels like I've drank so much sugar, and I don't drink sugar. I don't drink soda. I don't drink sweet tea. I don't drink, if I might make a cup of hot tea and have a little bit of honey in it. That's my sugary drink for, the day. But I don't drink coffee or anything. I drink water. That's what I drink. And I'll drink a regular unsweet iced tea. But it's interesting because usually I'm super hydrated because I drink so much water. But right now I really feel like I'm dehydrated. And so just a side note for you, pile number 2. Okay, so back to your reading. We have the Fool coming out again, right? The Fool, we have the light attributes are fearlessly revealing emotion, which we seen this whole reading. That tapping in, feeling others' emotions, being able to empathize with others on a very deep level. It says helping people laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy, which we just were talking about with the forgiveness and responsibility, right? So you may help them find some sort of absurdity in that, like, really holding on to it 10 years later, is it really hurting them? But it's hurting you, and you're the only one that matters right now. So why are we going to keep holding on to that? Like, you help them see it differently. And the Shadow is using humor to wound rather than to liberate, and denial of your emotional truth. So I do feel like there's been people in your life who've taken stabs at you in a humorous way, right? Where they have tried to make a joke at the expense of your self-confidence, your self-worth, your value, right? And I feel like you've had to let go of instances like that as well. And that's been really hard, right? You've had to cut ties with people like that, or you've had to set boundaries like that. Or the other thing, and this is very specific as well, you had a narcissistic ex in the past who absolutely demolished your sense of self-worth. And to set boundaries with someone like that was very challenging, and having to grow back into who you are. It's given you a sense of inner standing of a lot of situations, and also it has helped you reconnect with your gifts. And that's also another reason why it's easy for you to take that leadership, because nothing is as scary as losing oneself to another person. It's like everything you face, none of that is anywhere near as frightening as what it was when one day you may have woken up and looked in the mirror and said, I do not know this person that's standing in front of me. Wow, that was really powerful. Yeah, the Advocate inspires you to put compassion into action. Yes, this is so confirming. Thank you so much, Source. And we have Shadow is embracing negative causes or committing to causes for personal gain. And we see here there's this tree on this mountain, or on this mound of dirt here where she's planted. Again, this idea that nature is something that's very important to you. Nature is where you find your peace. Nature is where you reconnect. You very well could be someone who camps a lot or goes outside a lot, or, like you created a little beautiful outdoor nook where you can sit in your garden and you're out there all the time, even when it's snowy, like you're still out there. That's what this feels like to me. But also seeing that inspires you to put compassion into action. You are absolutely a heart-driven person, even though you're very much in that divine masculine energy right now, or you're able to move fluidly between your divine feminine and your divine masculine. You put it into action. We have watch and wait with Seahorse Spirit coming through here. I feel like something here, if you caught the collective reading, that's what this is. This feels like it's coming back to that collective reading. And if you didn't, it's worth a listen. And I have it timestamped down in the description box. But the thing is here, it's been a frustrating journey. It's just like, when is it going to be my turn? And I feel like that's something here that's coming through for you, pile 2. And Source is saying, watch and wait. Things are going to start panning out for you. You're letting go of so much. And you're making so much space for all new things to come into your life. So keep working on yourself and keep being your authentic self in this journey, because all of a sudden, before you even realize it, things are going to start shifting for you in a very positive way. And I feel like you're going to start creating a lot of momentum on your journey and seeing a lot of manifestations come to fruition here. You are never alone. This is you. This is you. You're that person. You're that person. You show up and you help people understand you're not alone. Look at this. We have 6, 7, and 8. So you're the stair step upon which people stand. And then we have wasp spirit. Sometimes life stings. The reason you're like this in this otter energy is because you've felt the sting of life. You felt the hardships of life. But they didn't deter you from being the beautiful soul that you are. It's almost like it enhanced that part of yourself. That I get to be this kind, generous person in life when everyone else gets so, distracted, or they get so jaded by life and they choose to be someone that they're not. Blame. Yeah, they blame others. I accept responsibility for my well-being. And it's not to say that you've never had this energy about you. I do feel like you've had to learn from this, being in a state of blame. But again, coming back to this Pope-S energy, you've looked into your past and you've learned the wisdom from that and learned that I get to have responsibility for how I feel, how I show up, what I experience. So I do feel like you went through some very difficult relationships that taught you that holding on to blame wasn't actually beneficial to you or your journey. It wasn't beneficial to you tapping in. It wasn't beneficial to your connection with source, to your connection with your higher self, with your gifts. Okay, these two for sure want to come out. We had 3 of them just slide all the way over here. But I'm just going to show you these 3 real quick. I'm going to put them back in the deck. We have passion, comfort, and strength. Yeah, so this is you. You embody this passion for helping people. You're a sense of comfort to so many in the world, and you're this pillar of strength upon which they can stand on. Why? Because you embody this deep sense of peace. You're at peace with how life unfolded for you, and you continue to be at peace with how life is unfolding. You're not trying to make it something that it's not. You're just trying to live the best that you can. Wow. Hurt and heal with Chiron here. So Chiron's been at play in your life for quite a while. I mean, Chiron is something that we have to face, right? It's the hardships that we have to go through and we have to face and heal. And I feel like you've gone from being the wounded healer and stepping up into the wounded warrior. And that's that masculine energy coming in where you're now empowering people to face their pain and to face their hurt from a very secure place, and recognizing that what was it? Yeah, that inspires the advocate, inspires you to put compassion into action, to come in from this place from compassion rather than that place of blame, which we saw on the bottom over here. Okay. Look at this. Wisdom in play. Our intuition knows more than we do. Yeah, you're definitely driven by the gut feeling, for sure. Your intuition is on point. You are someone who's incredibly gifted as well. Even if you don't know what those gifts are just yet, I do feel like the more that you continue down this path, the easier it will be for you to tap into them, for sure. Yeah, and you do this with effortless grace and ease. And even though it might not seem like that to you, it does appear that way to many people. And I feel like as you continue on this and continue letting go, I feel like you've recognized that it does get easier the more that you do it. And every time is less resistant than the time before. Relationships, I can't make this up. I'm attracted to those people who serve my higher good. So we see you've had very difficult relationships in your life, very, very difficult relationships, and they have left scars, right? Especially with Chiron and relationships coming out. So it's the fact that you've recovered from those relationships and you're still this beautiful energy in the world, but you're also standing up and helping others to heal. It's like we all can choose to heal. And when those of us that are ready to choose to heal actually go down that path, we're setting it up for others who maybe are a little bit more resistant to it to find courage to do that as well. Even if they are very toxic people, even if they are narcissistic people, it's like we can't just assume that they're always going to be that way, because people can change. You did, right? And if you did, that means other people can too. Cleanse. Yeah, you're helping to cleanse the world. Oh, I love this energy. You're helping to cleanse people from this fear, the fear of the unknown. The fear of what happens. I've identified with holding on to this for so long. What happens if I let go? But you're helping to cleanse that from them. So we're going to read this from the book. Wow, you're reading it by so fast. So we're going to read this from the book and see what this says. It's really long, so I might not read the whole thing. But wow, we have the Sun and Uranus here with number 17. All right, so 17 says Sun in Neptune, Sun in Uranus. So it says the ultimate hidden truth of the world that is something that we make and could just as easily make differently. The ultimate hidden truth of the world is that it is something that we make and could just as easily make differently. Look at this image though. Again, out in nature, the sunrise, this could be the sunset, right? Again, this idea that nature is like your healing place. Okay, so it's the dawn. It's the sunrise. It says, at each new dawn, I greet the day with a spark of dissent, plot my escape, vision my ascension, summon the will to rise above the tedious boundaries of normal. Oh, to be oneself, requiring not permission, and then to be another self whenever I so choose. Here is where the principle of life force, creativity, and willpower meets the principle of emancipation, rebellion, and sudden breakthroughs. This pair speaks to the relationships between individuality and ingenuity, technology and progress, freedom and creativity, aspiration and awakening. Sun Uranus can also foreground the tense relationship between personal ambition and social equality. Your gifts, put simply, the gifts of the Sun Uranus are your own gifts. Whatever it is that makes you, you. Because of Uranus's association with sudden breakthroughs and ecstatic rebirth, these energies help you to unlock your creative potential, validating the parts of you that are quirky or unusual. Sun and Uranus helps you to lean into your own weirdness and follow your eccentricity down blind alleys and around new corners and into unfamiliar territories. These gifts will be more readily available to you if you are open to tearing up the rulebook and abandoning the best laid plans in favor of spontaneity and improvisation. You can't be ready for surprises, but you can learn to loosen your grip on status quo and work to lessen your attachment so that when they arrive, you can enjoy them. You might find yourself seeking out causes to support, political groups or protest movements to get involved with, or just interesting new people to connect with socially. You might also tend to play the fun, interesting, and rebellious role in group settings. With Sun Uranus, you are willing to go out on a limb and be different. This pair wants you to shake up the snow globe and worry about where the flakes will settle later. The Uranian desire to upset the apple cart might make some people a little nervous, so remember to draw upon the good-natured and amicable facets of the solar archetype to help you express ideas in ways that others can accept. In doing so, you'll be able to energize the atmosphere of any group or social setting that you are participating in. Your challenges. With the Sun Uranus, you may not respond well to authority. You might have difficulty participating in activities that require rigid adherence to rules and regulations. Authority figures who enforce the rules in an obstinate or inflexible manner will be particularly frustrating, especially if the source of their power seems arbitrary, corrupt, or unjust. You may need to continually check in with your desire for emancipation and ensure that you are oriented towards something worthwhile. Many rules need to be broken, and many structures are prisons, but not all of them. Some constraints, when worked with rather than against, are conducive to greater degrees of freedom, of creative freedom. And that's what I was saying. Like, you're that person that goes against the grain, and especially in a work environment, like, you have everybody bring their ideas so that everybody feels like they're a part of it. You're not just like, oh, you all have to listen to me, right? That's that rigidity. Like, that doesn't sit well with you at all. Says it doesn't mean you shouldn't strive for liberation. It just that your Sun-Uranus transit in and of themselves do not contain all the wisdom that you need in order to know what is worth being liberated from. And your invitations or the Sun-Uranus energies are good for learning and beginning new projects, particularly anything with a clear Promethean character. Reading and researching subjects relating to science, technology, astrology, and progressive politics, getting involved with protest movements and revolutionary emancipatory causes, or engaging in spiritual practices that aim to elevate or liberate consciousness, the collective consciousness, and move you towards awakening or enlightenment. During transits between these two, you may have easier access to ecstatic states than usual, so they represent wonderful opportunities to try ecstatic dance or something similar. This could also be a fun time to try out making art in a new way, make use of technology tools or mediums you haven't tried out before, or try repurposing your existing methods to make something unlike anything you've ever previously attempted. Yeah, I love this energy. You're such a bright light. I hope you know that, Pile 2. You really are such a bright light in the world, and just such a relief to know that there are people out there who are trying to help elevate the consciousness. It's not just about light working. It's about bringing in that truth and that recognition that comes from empathy, compassion, and the courage to try it differently than everyone has done before. So thank you for being you, Pile 2. If you feel like this is your reading, I don't know what to have you leave down below. Let's see. Leave a sun emoji down below and say, I'm the leader upon which helps encourage the world to seek forgiveness, calm, and peace through a sense of relinquishing a hold from the past. And if it resonated with you, it would mean so much to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And if you're interested in supporting the channel further, please check out the description box. It will have everything that you need. And with that, I would like to take this moment to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, your angel source, and my spirit guides for coming together to give us this very powerful message. And until next time, Pile number 2, stay human. Bye. Hello, my fellow human. If you were drawn to this dice with Uranus on it, if you were drawn to this quartz rock, or if you were drawn to this card during the shuffle, this is going to be a reading on how would I describe you, or let me describe you. First, I do just want to mention that I don't have any stipulations for what's going to come through, so I'm just going to let Source bring in the messages that Source wants to bring through to describe you. So just keeping an open mind as we go into this. Also, I'd like to thank those of you that continue to be a supportive part of this journey with me. I'm truly honored to be sharing this time and this space with you. And if you are new here, welcome. This is a reminder that we're all here sharing this human experience together, and that this is a safe space to show up as your highest, most aligned, loving, authentic selves. We do things completely differently on this channel, so with that in mind, if the messages do happen to resonate with you, it would mean the world to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. So with that, let's hop to it and find out how would I describe pile number 3, Source? What would you like to come through today? How would I describe pile number 3, Source? What would you like to share? How would I describe pile number 3, Source? Okay, interesting, because I did get a channel message before I started your pile, and I'm now just being reminded of it. But it's interesting because you did get Uranus on your dice, the dice to choose from. But even when I was getting ready for this, I kept hearing the disruptor, the disruptor, the disruptor, the disruptor. Like, it came in so much. Like, you're breaking down societal constructs, you're breaking down societal beliefs, you're breaking down societal patterns. Like, you might be someone who triggers a lot of people and you have no idea why. You're like, I'm just being nice and kind and friendly and bubbly and whatever, right? I'm going and talking to people. You might not even be talking to anybody at all. You might just be focusing on yourself and minding your own business, and people just get mad at you or start to cause drama with you and whatever, and it's because you're holding up a mirror to them. It's part of your genetic makeup. It's part of your spiritual makeup as well. Your spiritual power is so vast, and it puts a lot of pressure on people, and they, instead of wanting to focus on the parts of them that's being brought up to change, just like when you're around, they might start thinking about some of the traumas that they've gone through, or they might start thinking about some of the shadow parts of themselves that they don't like. And instead of facing that part of themselves, they immediately start to project on you. So maybe your entire life, you've always had people who projected out really negatively towards you, and you always wondered why. And it's actually just a part of the way that you were created. It's a part of the way that you were made. And you're meant to trigger people. You also wouldn't surprise me if you felt like you deeply resonated with shamanic work, being a shaman, or doing something along those lines where you dip in and you heal people from an energetic level. That could be Reiki, but it's also something, it's more like ritualistic healing is what it feels like. And so that could be something that really, really resonates with you. And it's difficult because, thinking about ayahuasca, right? Ayahuasca is the idea, which I've never personally done it. I'm aware of it. So I can't speak from personal experience. But please just understand I'm speaking from an educated place, not experiential place. Like, ayahuasca is to help us purge out whatever it is that we're refusing to let go of, or that we're unaware of, or that we're not clear about. And it's enlightening for many, but it's also very frightening for so many. And I feel like that's that same type of energy. It's almost like your spiritual presence is whatever, it's the spiritual energy of whatever they give when you do ayahuasca. And that scares a lot of people. Okay, so we've got the 5th house. We have Aquarius energy, and we have Venus. Yeah, you're a very lovely person. Like, you're a very beautiful person as well. A very beautiful soul. Like, I feel like people don't struggle to talk to you or have a conversation with you or just have a genuine connection with you. I feel like the longer that you're around, though, the more irritated their inner demons get. And people who are not ready and willing to heal, they definitely lash out from that ego, right? And that arrogant place. It's like, oh, obviously I was fine until pile 3 came into my life, or until I was talking to pile 3. So pile 3 must be the problem. They're not looking at it as like, this is a spiritual purge. This is a spiritual cleansing. And so this is like a disruption on the journey. You're disrupting people. You're planting seeds of healing within their soul. And not everybody is happy about that or is ready to embrace that, right? And it doesn't mean that that's not going to be beneficial later on down the line. I do feel like all the seeds that you planted have definitely sprouted at some point along somebody's journey. But you're not the one who gets to see that. And maybe you have with close friends or family, but mostly you might deal with the difficulties of people. And I feel like that's something that you maybe have always wondered, like, what the heck? Why is everybody so freaking mean to me, especially when I'm so friendly and I'm so kind and I'm just generous and loving and giving? And, I see the beauty in everything, and I feel like I'm very attractive. I feel like I'm very magnetized, and you may get a lot of offers for love, and you may get a lot of offers for friendships. And for you, I feel like you're very careful about who you let in, because you might have been Mr. or Mrs. or the popular one growing up, or the networker growing up, and you may have had tons of friends, people you couldn't even count on both hands and both toes, or both toes, both feet. But you learned along the way that loyalty is hard to find, and that has definitely altered the way that you let people in. But when you're out and about, you're just you, and you let people see you at your core, and you're authentic, and you don't change from going out to coming in. However, if you're around somebody that is toxic for you, or if you're around somebody that isn't, like, maybe it's family, maybe you go to see family, your family might see you vastly different out and about versus when you're with them, because you become more reserved or closed off around them because of that, because they have lashed out at you, or because they have been toxic towards you, or whatever. And so I feel like there's a lot of contrast in the way when you show up. It's like you are either well received or you are not well received at all. There's no in between. But the benefit of having your spirit here incarnate on the earth at this time is that you literally are disrupting people from old societal constructs and beliefs, and it's necessary. It's necessary. It's making them face things that they would have never faced otherwise, even if they had gotten triggered by it from someone who had lived in that energy. And you know, like how we get triggered by toxic relationships, or we get triggered by something reminding us of something we went through. You're the one that comes in, and it's like your soul goes down to the very bottom of their buried parts of self and digs up the lowest of the low part and brings it to the consciousness. And they're not ready to face that part of themselves just yet. But I do feel like a lot of people have very much benefited from you being you. And there's nothing wrong with you, Pile 3, but I do feel like at times this has taken a toll on your self-confidence. It's taken a toll on your self-worth. And you've often wondered, like, am I the only person in the world that's like this? And no, you're not, but you're definitely a rare individual. Do you need to get through there, Sol? There you go, baby. That's as far over as I can move it right now. You got room. Go ahead. What do you need? Okay, so my dog, she just walked up, and I thought she wanted water. I think she does want water. She's just indecisive right now. But I feel like there's also, she wanted to be pet, and so she was just standing next to me, and I was just making sure she was okay. If you didn't catch, I'd mentioned it on one of my other videos that I had to take her to the vet, and she's got something going on, but it's manageable right now. And so, not to get into her whole life story, but I feel like it's telling, because there's other people who do feel that, like, they come up to you and it's like, oh, I want to talk to Pile 3 and want to be around Pile 3, because from a distance, oh, okay, they're telling me it's like a Monet. I don't know why this is coming through. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. Growing up, we always had this slang where we would call people a Monet, where it's like beautiful from far away but ugly up close. Okay, so that's the type of energy. It's almost like you're a Monet of energy. You're very beautiful from far away. Everybody wants to be near you, but when they get close to you, it's not that you're ugly. Okay, it's not that. It's that your energy is so overpowering that they don't know what to do. So they're like, oh, no, I don't want to be close to this energy. I thought I did, but I don't want to. Yeah, and because you're forcing people to face those parts of themselves that they don't want to. And I feel like, you know, maybe this has happened with family, with parents, with siblings, with grandparents, with aunties, with uncles, with cousins, like friends even. This could have even happened. Wow, okay, I'm not going to take all of those. That's a lot. Well, we have the Knight in reverse. We have the 8 of Swords. We have the 3 of Swords. And we have the 6 of Wands in the reverse. Yeah. There's a lot of people who try to take advantage of your energy because they know that you're very magnetic. They know that. But also when they're trying to take advantage of your energy, they're trying to control you because they're trying to dim your light. Because your light is what makes them feel uncomfortable. And so you oftentimes get people who are very conceited, very anxious, very greedy, very disconnected. And Source is helping you through these situations, but also knowing that these situations are brought to you because you're the channel of source, like you're a channel of source light, and that's why these people are getting brought to you. They wouldn't have healed otherwise. And I know I keep saying it that way, but that's really what it feels like. How would I describe pile number 3? You're the disruptor. Yeah, I do feel like you've definitely lacked self-confidence and maybe have put yourself in self-sabotaging situations because it's like, well, if you can't beat them, join them. That's the type of energy here, because you felt like your life was at an injustice. There's a lot of injustice that's happened in your life. There's a lot of upsets that have happened in your life, and Source is not invalidating that at all. It is difficult to do what you do. It is difficult to be who you are. But there's also a very profound beauty that comes with that when you embrace that part of yourself and recognize that no matter how another person feels about you being you, that is never your business, nor is it your problem. It doesn't mean that it's easy not to take that on. It does come with its resistance. But the more that you lean into that energy and recognize that you being you is what sets you free, and that's immediately going to bother other people, that's okay. But yeah, there's been, you attract a lot of difficult situations into your life. And it's not, that's the thing, it's not you. That's what's crazy about it. It's not you. And it's not punishment. I don't want you to think like this is punishment for anything. It's not. It's not. This is not because you did something awful in a past life. This is not because you're a terrible person. This is not because you are being, somebody's needing vindication here or something like that. It's not. It's literally that as a soul, you agreed to this with Source. You said, I'll be this person that comes in and heals people. And so you end up creating a lot of new beginnings for other people, but rarely seeing physically new beginnings for yourself. Because I feel like when things change for you, it just happens. It's like, oh, okay, things are changing now. Like you never really saw it coming. But I do feel like you do have a lot of blessings, and maybe focusing on those blessings more will help you as well. It will help you recognize, like, I'm giving away all this love, and I am getting that back, and I will get it back tenfold. And it might not be the way that I expect it to come back to me, but it will be exactly what I need it to be. And that's okay, and that's perfect, and that's everything that I need it to be. But I do feel like because there's been a lot of people who are unhealed and asleep in this life, that has created situations where it's almost like I'm just going to give up. It's just easier getting involved with or dealing with people who are in this negative energy than it is to try to be who I am, because being who I am just seems like it causes a lot of drama. It causes a lot of upset. And it's not you, and it's never been you. It's just your energy. You are literally a channel for Source. Yeah, there's been a lot of critical and judgmental energy towards you, a lot of guilty feelings that are coming up as well. Repressive control of self and others, negative ideas, blocking change in advance, right? It's hard to act with reason and to move forward when all you're seeing is this negativity getting pushed back onto you. There's a lot of isolation and loneliness and fixed ideas. It's like I try my best to be a good person. I try my best to be a genuine person and authentic. And I feel like you've definitely healed a lot, Pile 3, from your journey and just from life in general. And you've also had to heal things that were never yours to heal. But understanding where you end and where another person begins is it's gonna work wonders for you, because you're gonna realize, I don't have to carry this burden. I don't have to carry this person's pain. I don't have to heal this person's pain, because it's not mine to heal. It's theirs to deal with. I do feel like along your journey, you've definitely healed others' pain for them, or have had to heal the residual energy of that because you didn't know it wasn't yours to hold on to. So now there's a lot of excessive caution. Like, I don't want to talk to a whole lot of people. So that's, I was getting that some of you are very outgoing, but then there's this other energy that's coming in where it's like, I'm very closed off. I barely talk to people. I just basically go in and do what I need to do. It seems timid and shy, but it's not. It's just very cautious. There's this very cautious energy here, and feeling like all of your desires have been denied, and feeling like, you know, obviously there's something wrong with me because I can't manifest what it is that I want, and everyone has a problem with me. And if everyone has a problem with me and I can't manifest what I want, the only logical explanation is that there's something wrong with me. But there's not anything wrong with you. This is literally a part of your soul's journey, and that's sometimes really hard to accept because I feel the ego, right? The emotional ego coming in, like, why on earth would I ever agree to something like this? But again, we can't necessarily understand or wrap our minds, our human minds, or our emotional ego around what spirit and source have planned. That's so much bigger than us, and trusting that it is all coming from a place of unconditional love, which can be very challenging. When how do I trust something's coming from a place of unconditional love when I don't even know what that feels like? But you are an embodiment of unconditional love, except for sometimes the self-sabotage comes from that feeling like everything is working against you. And it's like easy for you at times, pile 3, to check out, but you're the disruptor. You're meant to disrupt the energy that's here in the world. And we see that, you know, the Wands cards actually connect with the spirit within, okay? And the 9 of Wands is not necessarily an easy card. It can talk about having to start over, but the fear of having to start over. And it can also talk about sickness and difficulties just in general. And then you have the King of Wands, which is talking about confidence, but then also self-sabotage, right? At a very base level here. And there's this energy of being unsure, but with the King of Wands, what we see is that he's his own worst demise here. He has this wand with this sharp tip on it, but he's the one that's stabbing it into his own Achilles tendon, right? He's the one that's stabbing it into his weak point. It's almost like exacerbating the pain. And this is not an easy reading that we're going through, and I absolutely appreciate that. And I'm so sorry that this has been your experience, but I'm also grateful that someone like you does exist, because without you being able to trigger people just by being you, there are so many things that would have spiraled out of control by now without that change that you bring. And it's a big burden to carry, but maybe looking at it as a gift and choosing to set yourself free and reframing how you're looking at it will help to free yourself from that mindset that I'm no good, because you're a beautiful person. You're a beautiful soul. There's a lot of interruptions that keep coming in. And this feeling of something being extremely hard to overcome. But what if you're not meant to overcome this? What if this is not something you're meant to overcome? You just haven't connected with the people who see the value in what it is that you have and who you are. That doesn't mean that they don't exist. They do absolutely exist. But there's this energy that's coming in as well, where there's a tendency to make things too heavy and too complex. Right? It's like this self-defeating acts and hesitation with conflicts is coming, and it's overwhelming. And so there's a lot of stuck energy here. I can't move on. It's a lot of heaviness, and I can't move on, and not seeing that you actually have this very powerful energy about you. The ability to be the rebel in the world, the ability to stand out, the ability to make long-lasting change with love, to give love, to receive love, to find value and beauty, to be magnetized, attractive, abundant, and stable, and this loyal energy that's here in this world. And again, it's not to invalidate what you're experiencing, but if you're not validating what you're experiencing so that you can move through it, then it becomes very difficult for you to see the beauty in who you are as you are. We have South Node energy, destined to release. As I'm talking about being able to move through those emotions and to validate those emotions, right? Destined to release anything that's holding us back. And when we're in a low vibration like this and we've shouldered the blame, We tell ourselves it's impossible for me to let go because I'm the problem. I'm the problem in everything. And that self-blame and that self-depreciation is overwhelming, and it's depression, right? It's depression. So how do you overcome depression? You have to start doing small steps each day to do what makes you feel better, and then doing the best that you can to remind yourself that you have value, you have worth. And I know that's not easy, but from experience, I can say it does help and it does work. I've fought massive depression since I was a child. And, you know, coming from the family that I came from, we didn't talk about our mental health. And so it was like something I couldn't talk to my family about. And I didn't find out until years later when I went to therapy that I had depression. And I also suffer from CPTSD. And so it's just learning these things about yourself. And maybe that's why I'm bringing it up here. Maybe it would benefit you to go talk to a therapist so that you can find different tools, resources, and modalities to work through this energy. But this is a very heavy energy right now. So it's telling me that something recently happened that was very heavy and very overwhelming and almost took you out because it was too heavy to deal with. There was just too much energy coming from a person or a group of people. It was too much. Okay, and that's what Source is saying as well. It's okay for you to talk to someone. There's no harm or foul in needing to talk to someone that is not connected to all these situations to help you work through it, right? Yeah, yin energy, intuition, trust, patience, spirituality, and receptivity. It's also really difficult for you at this time to receive your intuitive downloads. And what Source is saying is you're incredibly downloaded. That didn't make any sense at all. We're going to go with it. You're incredibly intuitive. But when you're in this lower vibration, it's hard for you to receive those intuitive notions and that guidance that you're needing to receive. So right now, it does feel like you're going through a dark night of the soul. And we see the moon energy up here in the night, and the day is still in the darkness, right? It's not lit. So the day is still in the darkness. So this feels like you're going through a dark night of the soul right now. And they're not easy. They're not easy. Dark night of the souls, they're called dark night of the souls because they're very difficult to go through. It's literally the letting go of who we once were so we can invite in who it is that we're meant to be. But that comes with a period of grieving, a feeling of loss, a feeling of overwhelm and disconnection. And so maybe just finding someone that you can talk to about this will help greatly. And knowing that you're not alone in that either. The eternal gatekeeper, acknowledge, assert, and protect what is right for you. Yeah, so coming back to that gatekeeper, you know, it makes me think of our gatekeepers. Are you doing meditations that protect your gate, that protect your spiritual gate? Are you doing, you know, like protection meditations where you surround yourself with angel light and love, with source light and love? You know, these are things that are very good for our practices, especially when there might be holes or gaps in our aura or in our spiritual gate. So I do feel like with the external gatekeeper coming in, especially with it being the external gatekeeper, talking about being overwhelmed by external energies. So it's important to draw back within and to reconnect with your internal gatekeeper and ask for that protection. Ask for any holes that might be there to be filled. And that's going to be very beneficial to you. So I know this was all about supposed to be how I can describe you, but I can't make it up. If Source wants to take the journey this way, it's going to happen that way. So there's a lot that's coming through for you. Pile 3, we've got vulnerability with Meadow. This feels very scary to be vulnerable, to be open. But your vulnerability is actually your greatest strength. And I feel like Source is just reminding you of that. It's so easy for you to disconnect with Cave and Sanctuary. You know, he takes his little paints up to the cave and he builds a fire, and he hasn't realized that, you know, the sun has set. Again, going into the darkness, going into the night. He hasn't even realized that it's set because he's focused on the thing that he wants to do, drawing on the cave walls, telling his story. So there's something here about telling your story. There's a need to tell your story, and maybe that's what you're meant to do with others too, is to share your story with the world. There might be something about your story that is what helps to heal the collective in a very profound way. But finding the courage to do that is what's necessary for you at this time, and not disconnecting from everyone. The more you disconnect, the more you isolate, and the more you isolate, the more lonely you get, and the more lonely you get, the more disconnected you feel. So it just starts turning into this round robin, this circular pattern, this cyclical pattern that is creating a lot of dissonance and hurt and pain and suffering. Okay, on the bottom, yeah, coming back to a place of peace. Right? Coming back to a place of peace. And you may have resonated with one of the other piles here, or been called to another pile as well, especially with this card coming out on the bottom of the deck today. I'm not going to say which one. It's only if you felt called to it, but I do want to mention briefly, if you did stick it out with all 3 piles with me today, leave a purple heart down below. That means you're officially part of the Purple Heart Club. So if you leave a purple heart down below, I'll know what that means. And even if you're only here for pile number 3, I just want to say thank you, because I know these are not easy readings to go through, but sometimes they are necessary for us. And it's just that I hope you understand that I do love and care about you deeply, and Source loves, cares, and supports you deeply. Even if it might not feel like it right now, you are deeply cared for and you are deeply held. And sometimes finding that place of peace, right? Putting down the armor, putting down what's protected us for so long, putting the mask down as well, and coming back to ourself, coming back to our state of peace, our internal selves. What else for pile 3, Source? I just feel like you feel so disconnected, and you might not realize just how connected you really are. Like, I do sense that you're very psychic. I do sense that you're very connected to Source, but there's just this disconnect right now where it's like, it's almost like you've unplugged yourself because it's overwhelming. I just don't want to deal with that anymore. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to see it. I just want to be at peace. But because you've disconnected that from yourself, there's still that sense of unrest, because you're basically saying this part of myself doesn't belong when it's a part of you. And when you disown a part of yourself, you're always at a state of unrest and unease. We have Queen energy here. Radiates the regal feminine and uses her benevolent authority to protect others. The Shadows becomes arrogant when authority is challenged, controlling and demanding. So I do feel like you've dealt with a lot of Shadow Queen energies. This could be the mother wound coming in as well. And so remembering that you are this beautiful person who can tap into their power at any one given moment. Let's see what else comes through for you. Life is a mystery, Bobcat. Yeah, so this is a lot of karmic energy that's coming through here. Okay, closing out karmic cycles, letting go of other people's energy as well, right? Sometimes we're carrying karma that's not ours, and is that fair? No, but sometimes we invite it in, right? Like, you're not sure where you end or where another person begins, and that's been an underlying energy throughout this whole reading. And so it's like, when you're able to recognize that this is not mine to carry, all these people that have treated you poorly because of you being a disruptor, that's never been yours to carry, but you're still feeling like you need to heal that, as if that's something that has to do with you, but it doesn't. And so life is a mystery. Like, you're a mystery, you're an enigma here in the world. You're different because you help heal the world in a way that others don't. And so you're the mystery itself. Yeah, Owl Spirit with you see clearly now. Yeah, you're incredibly intuitive. But the lower our vibration, the harder it is to receive those intuitive messages, right? And so I feel like sometimes you disconnect because maybe you have one of the clairs, or, clairaudience keeps coming up very clearly right now. So you could be clairaudiently hearing what other people are going through, like, all the time. And it could make you feel like you're going crazy, but you're not, and it doesn't have to be clairaudience. It could be anything. Like, you're feeling what other people are feeling, or you're experiencing what other people are experiencing. And it's like, you're tapping into these deep, dark secrets that, no one wants to see, but you see them so clearly and vividly. And it's like, I just wish people would wake up and see the world like I do. Like, is there anybody out there that sees it? And there are plenty of people out there, but you're scattered separately from one another because there's this need to create a larger ripple. It's like every drop you drop in the pond creates a ripple, and every drop every other one of you drops in the pond creates a ripple as well. And eventually those ripples will go across the entire collective consciousness and meet one another as they go. but that's just the way that it is. It doesn't mean that you're never going to meet somebody that's not on the same level as you. It means that right now there's purpose in the discomfort. And when you can find peace in the discomfort, then you know you're ready for inviting in what's rightfully yours. Yeah, oh, look at this. Yeah, embrace the in-between. We have 26, which is 8 again. So right now, embracing that in-between moment. That's what I'm saying. It's like you're feeling like, oh, I can't manifest anything or nothing's working out for me. It's like you're in the in-between moment right now. Right? And it's interesting because flamingos aren't actually naturally pink. Right? So I learned this, and I had to ask the lady at the exotic birds exhibit when I was in Corpus Christi. But I asked because I heard somewhere along the way that the reason that flamingos are pink is because they eat the shrimp in the water, and the shrimp, their melatonin or the color of the shrimp is pink. And that's why flamingos turn pink. It's because it's what they're eating. And so you are what you eat is what is coming in with the flamingo. There's twofold here, right? You're not actually as you're seen in the world, right? You're so much more than what you're seeing is in the world. There's something beneath the pink. There's something beneath the color. Okay. And then 2, you are what you eat. And remember, that doesn't mean just what we physically eat, food, sustenance-wise. That means what we're taking in on our phones, on our devices, on movies and shows, and what we're dealing with people as well. So not to disconnect from people, but also to feed yourself in positive ways. I willingly surrender old patterns and beliefs that are not serving me in a positive way. I'm supported in my process. That's coming in right now. Right now. Wow, that was really, really strong. Okay, so we've got freedom. Didn't I say that? Like you're looking for freedom here. I possess the power and the free will to create my own happiness. So this is all about you creating your own happiness. You're a very beautiful person, but it's hard for you to see it right now. Okay, yeah, because of the feeling of failure. I understand that a mistake is only an opportunity to learn. You are not a failure, pile 3. You are not a failure. You've never been a failure, right? It doesn't mean that we can't make mistakes or we can't fail in life, but every failure that we have or every perceived failure that we have is actually experience. And that's powerful for us. Oh my gosh, exactly. Frustration coming in. This is what it feels like. This is why you don't feel like you fit in. You're trying to shove this square box into this circular hole. It's just not going to work. There's no amount of pushing and prodding and shoving and hammering that's ever going to make it work. So there's a lot of frustration here. And we see that with your reading, and Source is absolutely validating that for you. But it doesn't matter if I validate that for you. It doesn't matter if Source validates that for you. If you don't validate that for yourself, then you're always going to be looking for other people to validate that for you, and it will never be enough. And that's what Source is saying here. That's where growth comes from, is embracing the discomfort in the frustration and validating what you're experiencing right now. Strength came out in all 3 piles. That's where your strength is right now. Your pillar comes from this growth and embracing right now the discomfort. And look, I know from personal experiences, some of these situations that we have to go through are incredibly difficult. Right? I've talked before about my narcissistic ex who's abused me physically, mentally, emotionally, and sexually. I've talked about that on other readings, okay? I've talked about family members who've been incredibly narcissistic, covert and malignant narcissists that I've dealt with my entire life. There's some situations, and it's like being a good person isn't enough sometimes, right? Like trying to make others smile and make others happy, like it's just not enough sometimes. And it's like feels like it's so easy just to blame yourself for that and to shoulder the guilt from all of that. But the only way that I found outside of that, and like I said, I dealt with CPTSD and I've dealt with massive depression my whole life. I wasn't manic that I know of, but I was diagnosed with depression, with severe depression. And the thing is that, you know, having to face those parts of myself, I've had people ask me, what do you have to be, what do you have in your life to be depressed about? Or why are you depressed, right? These are things that, I'm sorry, I didn't know I had to have something in my life to be depressed. And I have plenty of things in my life to be depressed about, but It's like I spent so much of my life focusing on those, which actually exacerbated the depression, right? And it's like, if you could pinpoint it to one thing, man, I guess that would make our jobs a lot easier, wouldn't it? But you can't. It's a buildup of so many different situations and emotions that we can't process, or that we can't face, or that we can't go through. And it's just taking it one step at a time, pile 3, and one day at a time. That's how we get there. Wow, melting mask. We were talking about that with the peace card and the gorilla putting down the mask. Allow your spirit self to shine through the many roles you fulfill. So letting your spirit self shine through right now, and trusting that your spirit self does have your highest good in mind, your high and always has the best of intentions for you, even if it doesn't feel like that right now. The only way to start trusting that is to one day at a time say, I trust my intuition, I trust my spirit, I trust source, I trust my angels of highest light and love, and letting them come in and guide you through your day and making the choices that feel most aligned with you. You've had a lot of severe difficulties with connections in your life, and that's something that's been very clear throughout your reading with Tarantula and connection. This is something that's held you back many, many times. This is something that's put you in a lot of discomfort, a lot of uncomfortable situations. Okay, it's time to let go. Look at how hard she's holding so tightly onto this tarantula like this. Like, if I let go, what's going to happen? It's almost like there's an identity here that's coming out. It's identifying with the frustration so much so that, like, if you let go of that identity, then who are you? But maybe that's the adventure. Who are you when you let go of that identity? What do you get to find out about yourself? Judge. Wow. Balancing justice and compassion, managing the fair distribution of power. The shadow is offering only destructive criticism, misusing business, legal, or criminal authority. So again, pointing out there's been a lot of injustice in your life, and you are a very balanced person. You're a very compassionate person. You're out for justice, not judgment. But sometimes the most loving people get the short end of the stick because they attract the most, what's the word they're showing me? Disparate, I think is the right word that's coming in. The most disparate people. It's like you attract the most low vibrational people, the people who are out for destruction. And it's learning how to protect yourself, but it's also learning that you are brought here for a greater purpose. And so even if you're connecting with really high vibrational people, you may still trigger high vibrational people because you are the disruptor. And that's because it's part of your soul's purpose. There's a reason for that. And it comes down to something you agreed to before birth. Let's take a look at your card. I'm going to read this from the book. Now, the explanations for these cards are incredibly long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we're going to dig in and see what's coming through. Wow. We have the Sun and Pluto, the two planets that are furthest away from each other. Right? You have the Sun, the center of the solar system, and then you have Pluto, which to me is still a planet. Okay, it's still a planet, but it's on the outer rim of our solar system. So they're the furthest away from each other. And that's what it feels like. Like, you feel like you're just as distant from everyone as Pluto is from the Sun. But that's not actually true. It just seems like that because you're shouldering a lot of responsibility and a lot of burdens that aren't necessarily yours to shoulder. So it says, the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Wow, what a confirmation in a one-liner to come through. Whoa. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. Right? The reasonable man adopts. Wow, let me try that again. I can't with you today. All right, we're going to do this. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. George Bernard Shaw with the Sun square Pluto. Here's the thing, and squares show us a challenge, a huge challenge, right? But instead of trying to adapt yourself to the world, or adapt the world to, to adapt yourself to the world, or to try to fit into the world, it's time to honor and own the fact that you won't ever fit in, and that's okay. I am what I am, cried the candle to the star. And so it is, said the heavens. I am what you are. It says, here's where the principle of creativity, vitality, individuality, and personal selfhood comes into contact with that of evolution, initiation, and transformational death rebirth process. This is the intersection of the seen and the unseen, the confrontation between consciousness and shadow. Whoa. Here is where the solar ego meets its match. Exactly. Thank you so much for this confirmation, source. Thank you. Where pride is brought low and attachments are broken so that a new sense of selfhood can evolve into being. Sun Pluto represents its intrinsic desire of consciousness to evolve and change. It gives you the motivation and momentum needed to outgrow and transform ways of being that are due, or perhaps long overdue, for renewal or rehabilitation. With the awakening of Sun Pluto energies in your psyche comes the unavoidable awareness of patterns of thought and behavior that simply can no longer be sustained. The pair draws your attention towards repressed material that, while it remains below the threshold of conscious awareness, secretly influences your thoughts, words, and actions. When such materials begin to surface, the initial feeling of it is rarely pleasant, yet when you respond appropriately, the signals of the beginning of a new cycle of a profound personal evolution. The pair help you to face your fears, take action, and move beyond them. That's you. You're the incarnate of Sun square Pluto. You're the incarnation of it. That's you. You're here to disrupt and to enforce change, and it's uncomfortable to so many people. It says some of your fears are probably quite rational, rooted in defensive reactions to dangerous or traumatic experiences. Others may have begun their existence in fairly innocuous ways and taken an irrational quality over time. Repressing negative emotion may seem like an effective coping mechanism in the short term, but the overall effect of pushing elements of your experience into the unconscious is to allow them to form the core of psychological complexes that become increasingly difficult to disentangle the longer you leave them unattended. Whether your fears are rational or not, bringing them into the light of the solar day can only help you see them for what they really are. After that, it will become possible to integrate them into the psyche in a positive way, to metabolize them and transform them into something that can become a functioning part of you. This is what you do with others. Look, the challenge is it is not only fear that gets rejected and consigned to the shadows. Any trait, attribute, value, behavior, or emotion you find sufficiently disagreeable will be similarly rejected and will take on a life of its own in the unconscious. Think of these rejected parts as characters in an internal theater production of your own life. You might think that by removing them from the stage, you are able to cut things like hatred, jealousy, greed, or anger from the play altogether. What really occurs is more akin to moving what is rejected to the backstage area, where they instead control the props and the scenery. Sometimes those parts of you that you withhold from being publicly performed even become the writers and directors of the drama itself. In life, what tends to happen is that repressed contents arise in the form of projection onto others. We see the banished characters from our play overlaid on faces of people around us, whom we prematurely judge to fit the profile. Learning to disentangle our unconscious projections from reality is commonly referred to as shadow work. Okay. Here, the right aim for the solar ego is clarity. Properly oriented, it can be the part that helps you spend less time caught in the loops of bias, prejudice, and self-deception. Sun Pluto invites you to illuminate the unconscious and see through projections more and more quickly. On some occasions, it may feel natural to become identified with the Pluto archetype, to see yourself in an incarnation or an avatar of it. This would be most unwise and likely very detrimental to you and the people around you. It is fine and potentially very honorable to see oneself as an agent of change in the world, but with Sun Pluto, it is important to recognize that the arena that you are most able to improve, and the one that it is most crucial that you do improve, is your own self. Yeah, so really this message is talking about it's so important for you to focus on self and healing yourself, because this is something you do without even it's not consciously aware, right? It's just happening. But if you're not taking care of your own well-being and your own mental health, it can get out of hand very quickly, okay? You can learn to surf the wave, but you cannot and should not aim to become it. Any transformational goal that requires others to submit unquestioningly to another's will is not one that should be pursued. A strategy of domination and control, even aimed towards the most benevolent ends, is never the correct path. The initiations. It's a good idea to try to avoid the buildup of repressed material by regularly engaging in deep systematic exploration and reflective practices that help you to honestly appraise what is going on in the psyche. Holotropic breathwork is a great way to bring anything that is below the threshold of conscious awareness up into your subjective experience. Finding a breathwork session to attend under those transits is highly recommended. Automatic writing and dream journaling are also good ways to explore what's happening at the boundary of consciousness. In these kinds of inquiries, try to be simply curious and make as few judgments as possible. If difficult material surfaces, try not to fight it. It's okay if you don't feel able to act on what is arising right away. Just make a note and try not to push it away too quickly. That said, if one particular theme or problem is consistently dominating your thoughts during these transits, it's probably better to make a plan to address the issue before it gains any extra layers of psychological urgency. So again, we have that confirmation that you are the disruptor. You're breaking down constructs, but at the same time, the main reason why this reading went in the route that it did is because Source is reminding you that the most important thing for you, Pile 3, is to take care of your own self, your own mental health, your own well-being. It's so easy to get caught up in helping others, or it's so easy to get caught up in what's happening with others around you. But at this time, it's okay for you to withdraw and to go into that space of self-care, but also not isolation. Source doesn't want you to isolate, but it's okay to find a space of solitude for some time so that you can heal yourself and then reemerge back out into society. Okay, I know this is a difficult reading. Here's a big, big, big energetic hug for you, Pile 3, okay? Okay. I love you so much. Thank you for letting me connect with you in this way. I know it was really deep. But if you felt like this was your reading, leave the little owl emoji down below and say, by choosing to take care of my own mental health, I am thus allowed to be an efficient and strong disruptor in the world by cleansing and clearing out old belief patterns. And if it resonated with you, it would mean so much to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And if you're interested in supporting the channel further, check out the description box. It'll have everything you need. With that, I would like to take a quick second to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, your angel source, and my spirit guides for coming together to give us this incredibly powerful message. And until next time, Pile number 3, stay human. Bye.